Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the OE Expo, and for those of you who are watching this event online, welcome. The first presentation today is from the energy management team, and I'd like to invite Lisa McNeely up to do the presentation.
So hello, everybody. Thanks for coming all the way up to the iHouse so early in the morning to hear about energy and energy management. I hope the coffee and apples in the back, the organic apples, are enough to sort of keep everybody's blood sugar up enough to sort of work through this with us. We're very excited to be here and to share sort of a status and sort of the work that we've been doing on energy management. I have part of the team up here. There's some of the team has been working on it in the audience. We have Jennifer Walsh and Chris Christofferson, who were our sponsors for the design phase here, and we're very glad to see them. I'll introduce some of the other team members as we get to their part of the project. So what I wanted to do was to give a little bit of a framework for where the energy management work fits into what's already been happening on campus over the last few years. We definitely wanted to make sure that we built on existing programs. We have a Cal Climate Action Partnership that sets a greenhouse gas emission reduction target. We have other projects that have been going on and have been developed by campus since 2006. And then the Operational Excellence and the Energy Management Initiative has worked to focus more on behavior change, but all of these projects have the same overall goal of permanent reductions in energy, environmental improvements, and cost savings. So just a little bit more about the Cal Climate Action Plan. So back in 2007, the campus set an overall goal for greenhouse gas emission reductions to reach 1990 levels by 2014. This is a very ambitious goal. It focuses mostly on the energy that we use in buildings. And what we do is we do planning and reporting, but also what CalCap was charged with was to develop a suite of both infrastructure and behavioral projects that are looking to reduce the impacts of our buildings and our transportation, sort of our commute and our fleet. So for these infrastructure projects, again, starting in 2006 in partnership with our utilities, we have been working on, again, some of these suites of what we call infrastructure projects. We expect the total investment to be upwards of $27 million and to yield $5 million in annual savings. And we're going to do this through these, some of you may be familiar with these projects. They may have already happened in your buildings, through lighting retrofits, building commissioning, which is this long-winded way of saying we do a tune-up of a building. We go in and make sure that the systems work the way they were designed to work and as optimally as possible, which leads to hopefully more comfortable buildings as well as lower energy usage. We also do heating and ventilation upgrades. These are some of the large equipment pieces of equipment that you often don't see or even know are in your building until it's too hot or too cold or too noisy. And then some other retrofit projects. We've done things, they've done things from pool covers for the Hearst Gym to installing all LED lights in the campus lampposts. And so, but for the Energy Management Initiative, we sort of looked at this and we said, well, what are the other parts of that can an organization do to manage energy well? And one of the first things that we knew had to happen was the establishment of an energy office. Sort of buildings and building occupants are too interrelated to just be going in and doing these behind the walls and above the roof projects like we do under the SEP. And so we needed the energy office to sort of support both the other elements and the SEP. I think some of you may remember when we used to have an energy office on this campus and had staff who did some of these roles. What we've done so far, we have a new energy manager. Chuck Frost is joining us here today on the far end. Kevin Ung is our new energy analyst. He started last week, so he's available to answer any and all questions that you have about anything related to energy data. But what they'll be doing that may be slightly different from how the energy office sort of existed in the past, they're going to be hiring some more staff that are more technical and hands-on, who are then available to help identify projects, implement projects, maybe projects that are smaller than what might make it into the SEP program. help support sort of unit initiatives and speed some of these energy-related repairs. It's not always true that when something breaks, it uses less energy. We have equipment out there that when it breaks, it actually uses more, and want to make sure that the Energy Office can help ensure that that gets fixed faster. One of the things that they will have available to them is more data than we used to have in the past, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but all of them will have that data available to both troubleshoot, identify problems, and fix them. And, one of the examples of how, Chuck's been on board, for 2 months, Chuck? 2 months? Kevin's not even 2 weeks. We've already made use of their services. We have a couple of pilots, and, one small example, we were in some labs, and Chuck said, oh, do you ever reduce the airspeed in the lab using the variable frequency drive here? Because, by the way, it also would reduce vibrations, which might help with your experiments. And they said, what's a variable frequency drive? This equipment is in every lab in this part of this building, and none of the users knew that they could do it. And we're hoping that Chuck or someone in PPCS can work to help see how we can reduce that to, again, see a multiple benefit of the cost savings and potentially better experiments. Another new and major component that the Energy Office will be implementing is an incentive program. This is a project to give operating units financial incentives to reduce energy, focusing mostly on sort of behavior changes. And by that we mean a combination of turning off lights and buying different printers, but also potentially larger efforts where a unit may decide to work with everybody in the building and see if operating hours or other things can be changed. The way the program will work, I think some of you all may have heard about it, but I think it's worth repeating. We will be the PPCS and the Energy Office, and Sarah Shirazi, who's here as well, and from PPCS, have been working to develop baselines for units. This is based on historic usage. It takes into account the fact that buildings are shared and that you need to split out the usage in those buildings, and that you need to pay attention to what kinds of space is being used in those buildings by the different units to do it. It takes into account other kinds of projects that have happened. And in terms of the status, this information is be going out to the units soon. I don't have the date. It's in hopefully in the next sort of week or two. Next couple of weeks, how's that? And there'll be a period where units will be able to review these and have conversations with the Energy Office, better understand how this program works, and then we're expecting the program to fully start in July 1. So what do you do with the baseline? It's going to be all these numbers and Excel spreadsheet. Well, units that use less than their baseline will receive those savings. Starting in the second year of the program, units that go above their baseline will be assessed an overage charge for this. The idea is to, again, provide an incentive and to give people, I don't expect somebody's going to turn out a light for the few cents of savings of that, but we do think this can be one powerful tool that we have in our arsenal to reduce energy savings and greenhouse gases. So another reason, there are of course other reasons besides money why people are already doing things on this campus to save energy. How many people turned out the lights in their office before they came here today? Anybody turn off their monitor? Yeah. Nobody gave you money to do that. There are other reasons why you do that. It's common practice. It's how we operate at Cal. We care about these things. We try to pay attention to them when they make sense. And these are also going to be the same incentives and the same reasons why people make these changes and see these savings in the future. So we also have an outreach campaign. This is, again, focused much more exclusively on the individual behavior change. We're going to have surveys, competitions, a volunteer program, resources to start saying, well, here's some of the ways that a lot of people on campus are already saving energy. Check and see which ones you're already doing and which ones maybe spark an idea for you to do more. And the website and this other components are going to go live on April 3rd. And I want to sort of backtrack a little bit here because one thread that has run through each of these last 3 programs has been this concept of the energy data. And again, Sarah Shirazi and her staff worked over the last few months to put in place a contract with, to have software that's going to show us on a dashboard type setting, sort of, like the dashboard on a Prius, how much energy people are using in a given building in a real-time basis. We're going to have about 59 buildings enrolled to begin with. Those will go live again on April 3rd. And we think these will be a powerful tool, not just, again, for the Energy Office to see the data, but for occupants to see the data and see how the impacts of what they're doing. So I also want to introduce Erin Finley here, because Erin has been hired to pull together a lot of the website and work on this. We'll come back to the dashboard. Actually, no, we're not going to come back to the dashboard. I forgot the order of my slides. So this is a snapshot of what the dashboard will look like. This is, of course, a static view. I wasn't sure whether Air Bears worked in iHouse, and everybody hates the speaker up there going, "Oh, just give me a minute while I connect." But I'm hoping that you can see this. This is a week's worth of performance from Stanley Hall. This is sort of last week. I pulled this out for a particular reason. You can see usage by day, by week, by month, by 3 months. You can, if you have a button that you can use to compare buildings, so you can see how one building compares to another. And one of the things this allows you to see, I was kind of amazed at, as a layperson, I'm not an engineer, what you can read from this. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of those really quickly. One of the things you can see from this dashboard is how much energy, how much is used 24/7 in a lot of our buildings. This is not uncommon in lab buildings. There's, again, the heating and ventilation systems that are on 24/7 because labs are used 24/7. There's equipment that, again, either needs to be on because it's in use all the time or because it needs to be it can take 3 weeks sometimes to recalibrate it for experiments. But another interesting thing is you can still see things that happen in this building. That little dip there, a fan broke and stopped working in Stanley. It might have actually been 2. It was the fan that blows the air around the building, and so then the fan that pulled more air in also compensated. And so we expect that we'll see other interesting things for other buildings as these come online. Sort of the last but not least element of the energy management program is our policy. We see this as, a core support for all of the other efforts, and really to work to help embed a culture of energy savings into project design and implementation. And Judy Chess, who's with us here from Capital Projects, is leading up that work. This policy is in development. An energy policy sounds like something where, gosh, maybe we can just go benchmark ourselves from all of the other organizations who have energy policies. And what we found is that actually not that many places have chosen to try to adopt a comprehensive energy policy. And so we're working to not only figure out what we need to do, but also make sure it's what works for Berkeley and that it works within the context of the rest of the energy management program. So kind of in closing, just wanted to highlight that all 4 of these projects are really meant to work together and to amplify and build on the existing projects. And as a reminder of why we're doing this, it is about cost savings, but we also feel that it's, that equally important are the greenhouse gas emission reductions that we can see from saving this energy. So we're all here for questions either now or afterwards, but I wanted to open it up for questions from the audience. I don't know how much time I have. I have 12 minutes. Or you all have 12 minutes. I don't have any questions. Any questions from anybody? I think you need to come up to the microphone, is that right? Okay.
Hi, I work in Sproul Hall. It's a lovely building. It's an old building. How much money is it going to cost to change out all the windows and make sure that they fit and redo the boiler system and all of that? It's easy to try and get efficiencies out of Stanley. It's new. Mm-hmm. It's just been retrofitted. Mm-hmm. What about the older buildings that are exceptionally expensive to fix mm-hmm. and also are historic and therefore have stronger, stringent requirements?
Yeah. Well, I may take a crack at that and then see. I think this is part of what Judy's going to be tackling. in the thing, or Chuck?
Yes, I can respond to that. We will look for opportunities to upgrade any equipment with more energy efficient equipment, just as Patrick McCardle has done on his SEP program. And so when there are available funds, we will change out and upgrade. And we will get the existing systems by retro commissioning running as best we can.
Did you want to add anything? Actually, if we can just let Judy. Oh, this is not a mic. You have to stand here.
Hi, I can just talk briefly about the issue of windows in historic buildings, because it is really something that comes up fairly often when we're looking at doing any kind of work related to energy, or even just a capital project in an existing building. And we usually try to take that issue seriously in terms of balancing both the historic preservation characters of the windows, the energy saving opportunities, and then also the opportunity to do, you can change out a window, but if you're not also insulating the wall and sealing the area around the window, you're not going to really get the energy savings. So what we do now is that we will look at those as life cycle cost issues. We will try to project the energy savings as part of the work that you would do, or the capital investment required to do those things. So you're right, sometimes they're not going to always pencil out, and we're going to also, sometimes the balance will shift on the side of maintaining the windows if it's a particularly historically significant building. And so there are complex issues, especially related to how you do work, how you do upgrades in an existing building. It's definitely a lot more complicated than building a new building from scratch. So we're going to be developing guidelines and practices through the energy policy about how we deal with both renovations in existing buildings as well as our new construction.
And I would like to know, who would I contact if I see something that such as I have seen several outside vents going into buildings that have been completely blocked with soot, dirt for years, but I had nobody to contact. So do I contact someone on this panel?
I think for right now, I can give you the email address, mypower@berkeley.edu. That'll come into the team, and we'll make sure that we route it either to the energy office or to PPCS, as whichever one makes the most sense. But we'd certainly appreciate you seeing those things and sharing them out, because it's how we know about them. Other questions? Yeah.
I'm interested in how you reach out and encourage people to change their behavior around some of the smaller behaviors like recycling. And I couldn't help but notice there's plastic water bottles, and how do we discourage that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And as far as events go, I know a lot of vendors are using recyclable materials to kind of enforce that. And also, is there any program for composting down the line? So behaviorally speaking, I'm
Right.
kind of interested in this.
So I'm not sure everybody could hear her question. I just want to repeat it. The question was, how do we do this outreach? How do we reach out to get people to change behaviors from energy to recycling to composting to doing events? Just happen to have another slide. In the context of the energy management program, which is what this is the focus for right now, we're going to be looking for volunteers, power agents, to work either individually or within teams in their departments to help sort of figure out what those ideas are and what those projects are very specifically in their area, in their building, or in their unit. More broadly, the Office of Sustainability has some other programs that do address some of the recycling and composting and other issues. And we can talk a little bit more about that later. We have a Green Department certification that we can tie people to. Our initial focus is going to be energy for right now, but we also, will work to encourage people to do other things as well. And so if you're interested in volunteering for this, you can see Erin afterwards. I think that, and you were talking about composting. We can talk about composting offline. How's that? Oh, come on, other questions? Yes, good. And then I think that's probably the last one, given the time. Okay. Bill didn't give me an end of time, but I figured I'm close.
Hi, good morning. Right now, I'm working in the Golden Bear building, but a few years ago, I used to work in the Marchant building. And I'd have a concern about lighting. In other words, you go into a big area where there are a lot of cubicles and all the lights come on. And there are some people, like myself, that don't like too much light. And I've got no control to just have my cubicle not have a light over me. But when we were in Marchant, we had an experiment going on where we had boxes in our cubicles and we could control the overhead light ourselves. So in other words, if I was in a cubicle, I could click on the box and the light over me would go off, but the lights would stay on everywhere else. So that was obviously saving energy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who complain that the fluorescent lights are too bright.
Yeah.
I wish I could have that now where I am now, but so I turn the light off, but I have a little light because it's too dark. Okay. But I do think it's something to look at, to be able to control the lighting more efficiently.
Yeah. No, I think the lighting projects can be very challenging for a lot of reasons. Chuck, do you have anything that you can add to sort of what your experience on this?
I would say that each building can be looked at for lighting. Each building is going to be a little bit different, but that's a really good suggestion, and I'd like to look a little further and meet with you, and you can contact me, and we can talk offline on that. But each building will be different, and the opportunities in each building is going to, are many opportunities. Each building is going to be different.
Well, thank you all very much. We're going to be in the lobby afterwards for questions. So, thanks.